I'ma keep on running, cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and I've been a little bit under the weather lately, so forgive me. We're going to try and get through this review. We're talking about one battle after another. When their evil enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. This is the latest passion project written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, which was also inspired by a novel called Vineland by Thomas Pynchon. This is the second book that was by Thomas Pynchon that Anderson has loosely adapted, the first one being Inherent Vice. Now, to be fully transparent, I have only seen 2 films out of Paul Thomas Anderson's before I saw One Battle After Another. So my introduction being Inherent Vice, which was, I'm not gonna lie, it was disappointing. And then Licorice Pizza, which I thought it was okay. But I can only imagine, I can only hear through the screen right now that my cinephile mutuals are just screaming at me for not having seen Boogie Nights, Punch Drunk Love, or There Will Be Blood. One day, I will put aside everything else and I will watch those movies. Not during spooky season, though. After finally seeing the movie for myself, while I may not be on the same page as critics who are calling this the movie of the year, the defining film of our generation, I do agree that this is ambitiously entertaining and an outrageously wild piece of cinema by someone like Paul Thomas Anderson. Now, if there's any movie that would warrant some kind of reason to look back and or maybe take a second look at PTA's filmography, I think One Battle After Another is going to do it, especially welcoming new fans. There is a surprising blend between heartfelt drama, political thrills, blistering action, and chaotically zany humor where I thought in many intersecting moments that those elements would backfire on each other, surprisingly ended up working for me. On the technical side, I very much admired how this film was shot. There were these unbreakable one-ers that were so raw and all over the place that it felt like organized chaos, especially in the second act where there's a riot ensuing in the backdrop. There's also this car chase in the third act where it was very reminiscent of Bullet and The Vanishing Point, where the POV of the car that's in pursuit is just disappearing through the grooves of the road. And that racks up so much tension because while you're in the driver's view, all you're doing is going up and down on this road, and it is very unclear of how close or how far both drivers are from one another. This movie had a really good soundtrack, but the score felt very off-kilter. I just kept readjusting myself in my seat and just scratching my head at how frustrated I was with how the piano synth and the percussion beats were just not syncing with a lot that was going on in the movie. And then it hit me that it was all by design. And yes, I'm referring to the chokehold of the second act, where I am anticipating in suspense of what's going to happen next, and to be completely taken by surprise with the various directions that they go, I was just laughing my ass off. Getting into the talent here, we're starting off with Sean Penn as Colonel John Lockjaw, offering an over-the-top performance as our main antagonist. You know what? He's kind of like Wile E. Coyote, where you can totally get behind his relentless ambition, but how he goes about getting anything that he wants is so scummy that you were just waiting for him to fumble. This is also my first experience with Chase Infinity and Tiana Taylor's performances as the characters Willa and Perfidia. You know what? That's half a lie. I'm pretty sure I recognize Tiana Taylor somewhere. It's gotta be one of the Tyler Perry movies.
Sabrina Byron! That's for Byron!
Listen, hey, shut up! Be quiet, listen!
What is that? That's the baby mama from hell.
And it ain't gonna be no magic.
Hell no.
Hey, shut the hell up, sound like a siren!
They don't get to share any scenes together, but what they do bring to their roles ignites many emotions in their own way, where Teyana Taylor is a force to be reckoned with, especially when it comes to rivaling her male co-stars. Chase Infinity also exhibits her own sense of vulnerability and feistiness. We also got Benicio del Toro playing Sensei Sergio St. Carlos, and although this man does not have a lot of screen time, although he doesn't really have a big role, whatever he brought to this particular role is going to automatically earn him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor, and even the little dance that he does when he's getting arrested is probably blowing up over TikTok by now. And his humor is so deadpan that it is just miracle work alongside DiCaprio. Speaking of my favorite actor of all time, Leonardo DiCaprio, he takes on the role of Bob, aka Pat. He's an ex-bomber, ex-revolutionarist, and he's pretty much a more paranoid and unhinged version of the dude from The Big Lebowski. And it's only because his line delivery and his physical performance is so out of pocket, so sporadic throughout the second act that I just could not stop laughing. He stretches through a spectrum of emotions, going from like 20 to 100, just trying to get his daughter Willa back. I mean, can you imagine if Liam Neeson in Taken was trying to get his daughter back, going on these missions, but also under the influence? That's hilarious. And I also like to point out that there are some Easter eggs, especially when he's being interrogated by the cops, where they're asking him for his name, and his first response was Batman, and then his second response was Peter Parker, both little past Easter eggs of him being offered superhero roles back in the day. Getting into my mixed opinions, while I do love the way that characters are written by PTA as well as who they cast for them, I do have issues when it comes to him with the way that he wraps up character arcs and certain subplots. I mean, there are moments where many characters would just kind of come and go, especially when they're played by really big actors to very small roles. But sometimes I feel like, especially where we left off with them, they would feel very forgotten and very disposable, and I don't like that. On one hand, I got some people telling me that it felt more grounded when you're not given the full satisfaction, when you're not given the answers to a lot of characters and what happens to them after the story, or probably being left to want more. But on the other hand, I do feel like it's a cop-out. I do feel like it's just a poor excuse of not coming up with a much better ending, not coming up with a better conclusion. I mean, it's not like PTA is going to be doing a sequel to one battle after another. I can see specific audiences becoming very up in arms, very divided on the opening prologue, where in the first 30 minutes, our main characters are glorified and put on display as left-wing revolutionaries committing acts of terrorism. And with what's been going on in today's world, I can definitely understand how that hits close to home, how those subject matters are going to trigger a negative response. Beyond the atrocities, the character of Bob is a pure variable where he decides to prioritize being a parent to Willa and leaving that life behind, leaving that particular fight. And what I took away from this movie was the life of a child changes everything. And especially when it comes to the relationship and the bond that just blossoms along the way, and that's all that really matters. Getting into my negative opinion, now, I didn't mind all the weird or perverse elements in Sean Penn's story arc. I think it adds a lot of compelling layers to his cartoonish villain, but this whole little subplot where he's trying to join this white supremacy club could have been trimmed down tremendously. I think that's where you'll get a lot of the complaints that this movie was just a little bit too long. The more time that we cut back to this subplot, the more that I felt disengaged with the main story, because every time we cut back to these guys in a little boardroom, I kept thinking to myself, well, what happened with Teyana Taylor's character? Why aren't we fleshing more scenes out, more emotional aspects with the Willa character? And I just didn't think that they needed to flesh out Colonel Lockjaw's extracurricular activities. Overall, while I would have wanted more father-daughter banter and revelations, what we did get here will cement something special, and I cannot stress at how much of these performances and this style of filmmaking by PTA is going to reel in those Oscar nominations by next year. While this may or may not break my top 10 personal favorite films of the year, I do have to say that the role of Bob is probably one of my favorite characters of DiCaprio's yet. One Battle After Another is a blockbuster with class. It's thrilling, bold, electrifying, and hilarious. Alright guys, that's all I got to say about that movie. Go ahead and check it out if you feel like it. Honestly, I recommend that if you can see it in VistaVision or 70mm print, check that version of the film out. I'm Jaren Banawag. I want to thank you guys again for taking some time out of day to hear me talk some movies. Look forward to more reviews. I'll see you guys at the theater. In the meanwhile, stay spooky and take care.
Keep running, jumping the aqueducts, fire hydrants and hazardous smoke alarms on the back of us. But mama, don't cry for me, rap for me, try for me, live for me, breathe for me, sing for me. Honestly, guiding me, I can be more than I gotta be still from.